Hey everybody, welcome to video 23. We are getting very close to taking a look at the individual muscles that are located in the human body. Unfortunately, we won't be able to go over all of the muscles, whether or not you were looking forward to that or dreading that. We are not going to name every single muscle in the human body. So what I wanted to do in this video is give kind of a brief overview of how muscles are named, so that even if you're presented with a muscle that you have never heard of before, based on these categories that are used to name muscles, you may be able to figure out exactly where or what the muscle does. So skeletal muscle has 4 functions. It's going to be used to stabilize your joints, maintain your posture, generate heat, and contract to produce movement. So these are the 4 things that it's going to be doing. Muscles can do 1, 2, 3, or 4 of these functions. Not everyone is going to be used to stabilize a joint. Not everyone is going to be used for posture, on and on and on, but some may be useful for multiple functions. When we look at the names of these muscles, there's going to be 3 categories used. We're going to take a look at what the muscle does. So of those 4 functions, what is that muscle doing? Where is the muscle located? And then what is the shape of that muscle? So we're going to take a look at all sorts of different muscles in this video just as examples. And then once we start getting into regional anatomy of muscles, we'll take a look at a much wider array of muscles. So when we're thinking about what a muscle does, it's good to think back to our range of motion lab when we were looking at joint movements. Muscles can move bones in a few different ways. If you'll remember, they can flex or extend, abduct or adduct, supinate or pronate, dorsiflex or plantar flex, rotate or circumduct, as just some of those 5 pairs of movements. For example, there is a muscle that you have in your forearm called the supinator. Based on your knowledge of what supination is, meaning to go palm up, if you were in the supine position, you can guess that this supinator muscle, its job is to supinate the arm. Based on that, you can kind of guess that it is somewhere in the forearm, in the elbow area, and be able to figure out where it might be located. And here's a picture sitting radially on that thumb side. So as that muscle contracts, it's going to pull on that thumb, or on that thumb side, on that radius, and that is going to turn your palm up. When we look at where the muscle is, we think about its location. This kind of goes back to our anatomical terms. Oftentimes, the name of or the location of the muscle is usually going to be associated with its origin or insertion. And I know we haven't talked about origins and insertions really. Basically, it's just where the muscle is attached to. So when you think of the sternocleidomastoid, this muscle is named based on its origins and insertions, where it's connected. It's attached to the sternum and the clavicle, as well as the mastoid process. So you can figure out that muscle sitting right here. It is named based on its 3 attachment points, so based on its location, and you can figure out some things about that muscle just based on its name. Another muscle named for its location is the frontalis. Remember, the frontal region is going to be right here, your forehead. That frontalis muscle is going to sit all the way, or it's going to sit right here, and it's actually going to be the muscle that's used to raise your eyebrows. The third category is the shape of muscle. The shape of muscle is usually associated to some sort of role that it is playing. There's several different categories of shapes. You can have parallel muscles. These are going to be muscles that are arranged in where their fascicles are all running parallel to one another, usually in the same axis of contraction. So for example, your biceps brachii, not named exactly based on its shape, it kind of is, but the biceps part refers to the 2 heads of that muscle. And those two heads actually kind of relate to their shape. They are parallel to one another, and they run there. It's a very long, cylindrically shaped muscle. You can have your circular muscles. These are going to be your sphincter muscles, where they contract concentrically. So for example, your orbicularis oris is the muscle of your mouth. That is a sphincter muscle. That orbicularis referring to a circular shape. So your mouth, when it contracts, is able to move concentrically. You have your pennate muscles, so the unipennate, bipennate, and multipennate muscles. These are going to be muscles that blend into some sort of central tendon. Unipennate muscles are going to have all the muscle tissue on one side of the tendon. Bipennate are going to have the muscle tissue on two sides of the tendon. And multipennate are going to have the muscle on multiple sides of that central tendon. So for example, your deltoid muscle is going to all blend into a central tendon on that deltoid tuberosity. Convergent muscles, these are going to be muscles that come together at a single point of attachment on one end or another. They're usually going to be very fan-shaped. The best example is your pectoralis major. Everything is going to converge into your armpit here, but then that muscle is going to spread all the way across your thoracic region here. Any combination of the shape, the location, or the function can be used to name a muscle. So for example, if you want to kind of quiz yourself here, you can pause the video and think about what the Extensor Pollicis brevis does. But just based on its name, we can see here extensor is going to mean it's extend, so that refers to its function. Pollicis refers to your pollex, your thumb. Brevis is a little bit tougher. You think the word abbreviate means to shorten. Brevis comes from that same root. So this is a short muscle that extends the thumb. So it's going to sit right in here. So those are the three categories used for naming muscles. Not every muscle is going to follow this naming convention, but many muscles that you come into contact with that we don't cover in this class probably follow at least one of these, especially when we talk about the muscles of the forearm as a kind of unit. We won't really get into them individually, but they are named based on these three categories. So this kind of gives you a general rule that you can follow as you look into more muscle names in the future.